Welcome back to my second video here, and as I said earlier, I will talk about the different ways that children can get wounded. When we are born, we come to this world with a blank schema. A schema is like a mental template. It has nothing on it. Nothing is written there. By the time you're 3 years old, that is when you begin to write on your schema. The experiences from 3 years old, we begin to keep a memory, and that memory is what we begin to write on the schema. By the time you get to 10 years of age, you have finished writing everything that you needed to write. From that schema, you begin now to interpret things in life. So that is how we form our core beliefs. So anything else that we experience later in our lives, we interpret those things based on what we have written in our schema. So when children are exposed to painful situations, unless there is a proper explanation from the adult, children will simply interpret it in their own way because they have no reference. They have not experienced such a thing before. So they will interpret it in their own way, and they will form whatever belief that they form at that point. And that is the danger of exposing children to pain without any kind of explanation. So I want to highlight some of those areas of pain that adults ought to be careful about. And I also want you to check whether you experienced anything of that kind when you were growing up between the age of 3 to 10. So the first area of pain in the lives of children is the area of abandonment. So what is abandonment? I will describe different situations that can be interpreted by a child as abandonment, being abandoned. The first one is where you have absent parents. When a child is being raised by somebody else and not their parents, whether the parents are working or they have gone abroad and they have left the child with the grandmother to be raised, or they have left the child with an auntie because they have gone to work and to provide, a child between the age of 3 to 10 does not understand that. The fact that the parents are absent, other kids are talking about my mom, they're talking about my dad, and this particular child cannot talk about mom or dad. They begin to feel different, and a majority of them conclude that my mom and dad abandoned me because I was a bad person. If I wasn't a bad person, they wouldn't have abandoned me. So they begin to feel inadequate. They begin to feel different. So when a child is raised away from both parents, that child grows up with the pain of abandonment. Especially the children who are raised in children's homes, that is one of the very kind of hurt that they grow up with. Another source of pain for children is when there is an absent parent. This time it is one parent who is absent. Either the father is absent or the mother is absent. So the child begins to wonder, where is my mom or where is my dad? When they hear the other children talking about two parents, they can only talk about one parent. Again, that causes pain. They begin to feel different. They begin to feel inadequate. Some of them develop anger because they're like, where did my dad go? Why did he abandon me? Where did my mom go? Why did she abandon me? What is wrong with me? I must be a bad person, and so on and so forth. I am not important, and all that. So children grow up with pain when they are raised by one parent. Another way that children experience abandonment is where both parents are busy. And this is a very common thing in this particular time and age. And I have met too many clients over the period of counseling who have pain as a result of their parents being busy, they were not there. And a majority of them, their pain is as a result of what happened to them in the absence of their mother, in the absence of their father. For example, the child is left with a house help who is not nice to them. So I remember one person was telling me that when she was a child, she would wait in the bedroom, looking through the bedroom window, listening for the dad's car coming in. So she would stay there just staring at the gate because the house girl was very, very unpleasant. So as soon as the dad drives in, the mom would come later. The mom used to come later. Dad is the one who used to come earlier. So then she would feel so good because finally she is safe. And then she would open the bedroom door slowly as soon as dad comes in, and then she would go meet the dad and she would feel so good. But she couldn't tell them that the house girl is harassing, is tormenting, is beating her and abusing her and so on and so forth. Until one day when the mom discovered something was wrong. I'll not say exactly what, because I don't know who is watching this. And that is how they were able now to get this house girl out of the home. And she felt so good that finally this abusive person is gone. But when she was telling the story, she was feeling so bad because she was like, I was wondering, where are they? Must they go? So in the morning, she would pretend she's fast asleep because she didn't want to see them go, because it is the beginning of another terrifying day. And it is because if she woke up to say goodbye to them, as soon as the car drives off and the house girl closes the gate, she would come back home and push her back to bed and cover her and tell her not to wake up. Again, when she sleeps a little bit longer, the house girl will come and beat her and wake her up and ask her why she's still in bed. So waking up was a problem, and sleeping a little bit more was a problem. So she didn't know, when do I wake up, or when do I eat, when do I not eat. Everything was just harassment. So she was struggling with a lot of abandonment. So that's something very, very common. So when both parents are busy, the child does not understand why they have to go, why they have to leave her with this kind of a person. So that is a type of abandonment. Another type of abandonment comes in form of neglect. When a child feels neglected, for example, if there are visiting days and all the other children are happy because mom and dad came, and for them nobody came for visiting days, or sports days, parents have come to see what their children are doing on their sports day, and this particular child, there was no parent. I remember one of them, when they were doing some swimming kind of a competition, and she was really excited that dad will be there to watch her swim, and he didn't come. And already she knew mom would not be available. So when children are neglected in that manner, they do not understand what is happening. So they grow with that kind of pain of feeling abandoned. Another one is when, for example, other children are being bought for good things, like clothes over Christmas, new ones, and for them they don't have. So parents ought to explain a little bit to the children why they will not get something new at a particular time. It doesn't hurt to explain, because a child at that point will not understand the aspect of lack. They will think probably so-and-so's mom and dad, they love their children more than my mom and dad loves us. That is why those ones are being bought for those kind of things, and us, we are not being bought for those kind of things. So it takes just a little bit of explaining, and the child will begin to understand. It's even very simple. You can tell the child, whatever your friend has it's not better than this. So you buy them something else that is probably really cheap. And the child will begin to love the fact that mine is even better. Even my mom told me mine is even better, because they don't understand that this one is expensive or this one is cheap. But when they don't have any of those things at all, they will not understand that my parents cannot afford. They don't understand that. So they begin to look at it as neglect. And they feel abandoned. They think, and that is why you see some children even wanting to move into their neighbors' homes and stay there because there are better things over there. It's not because they hate their homes, but they just want to feel like those other kids. They want to feel like they are loved and appreciated and important like those other children. That's why they want to stay in their homes and even maybe play with their toys and stuff like that. So it requires just a little bit of explaining. Another thing that can make a child feel abandoned is rejection. There is the outright rejection where a child is made to do a lot of work while others are not doing anything, or some things are spoken so highly of this child and they never get any of those kind of compliments and affirmation. So any type of rejection makes a child feel abandoned. So that is the first area of pain. The second area of pain is abuse, the area of abuse. Abuse can come in many forms. There is physical abuse, that is where a child is punished even for something they haven't done, and if they have done it, the punishment is too much, is beyond what was necessary for the particular mistake. So physical abuse leaves children wounded. The other one is emotional abuse. For example, shaming. When you tell other children to laugh at a child because they poo-pooed on themselves or they peed on themselves, or they have, something funny happened and you tell other children to laugh at them, it emotionally tears the child. So that is more or less like a very abusive kind of an emotional thing. Comparing a child to others. If you compare your child to another, a neighbor's child, or even one of the siblings, it is emotionally abusive. It's like you're abusing that child emotionally. So do not compare children. Another one is bullying. Bullying is a form of emotional abuse. So those kind of experiences, they leave children wounded. The other one is sexual abuse. We know sexual abuse, the molestation and all those things that happen. Children who get sexually abused, they are left wounded. And the other one is verbal abuse, throwing insults at the child. For whatever reason, it is not okay, it is not good. The child is left wounded because of those verbal abuses, the insults. Another thing that leaves children wounded is trauma. And trauma can come in different ways. The most common source of trauma in children is domestic violence. When mom and dad are fighting, it is very traumatizing to a child because they love mom and dad equally. They believe in dad, they believe in mom. So they are wondering why the two are fighting. A majority of children will blame themselves for such a fight. So domestic violence is a major source and cause of emotional or trauma in children. Another source of trauma is accidents, any kind of an accident. If a child falls and gets injured, unless that is dealt with and handled properly, it can leave the child traumatized. So any kind of an accident can leave the child traumatized, and that is a source of inner woundedness. The other one is illnesses. If a child gets critically ill and everybody around them is handling them, with that kind of a mood of you're sick and so on and so forth, so they fear for whatever it is that this is all about. So that can also leave the child traumatized. Death of a loved one. Some of them will get to know that somebody has died, probably from the age of 5, 6, 7-ish there. They would begin to understand what it means for somebody to die, and that also leaves them traumatized, especially if they are not explained properly what is happening in a way that they will understand what this is all about, the fact that they will not see this person again, and especially if they see the person being buried, and they will wonder why, you know, this person is being buried under the soil and so on and so forth. So those kind of experiences, they need to be handled properly so that children are not left with trauma. And the other one is embarrassment. Embarrassments like, for example, embarrassing the child in front of others. You know, just doing things to embarrass the child. Children, especially when you laugh at them, or you cause people to laugh at them, or you call them names like some funny names, some nicknames that other people will laugh at them, anything that causes the child to be embarrassed. Like now when they are getting into like 8 years, 9 years old, and they are still wetting their bed, if it is not carried, or handled properly, it becomes a source of embarrassment for the child, and it leaves that child with a lot of trauma. And some of them are unable to even perform in school, and you know, they are unable to become themselves because of the trauma related to the embarrassment that they have gone through. So anything that is embarrassing leaves a child traumatized. And another thing that can cause pain in children is excessive rules, like very strict controlling parents who have excessive rules. I've found quite a number of the rebellious teens and the young adults who get into a lot of rebellious kind of behavior. They do that because they have finally gotten the freedom they never got. So it simply means that when they were going through this kind of an upbringing with excessive rules, controlling parents, very strict, they were denied an opportunity to be children, it left them wounded. So that forms the character of especially the rebellious teens. That is one of the things that pushes them into that direction. So those are some of the ways that children can get wounded. So you can check whether you went through any of that. And if you did, then it simply means you were wounded as a child. You may have forgotten it because you grew up and you started going on with your life, but that doesn't mean that that pain was eroded simply because you forgot. It was registered somewhere in your emotional being. It is still right there, and some of the decisions you make today could be as a result of the beliefs that you formed when those things were happening in your childhood. So it's important to check so that you can now begin to work on dealing with that pain, because it will always cause you to make decisions in that particular way. And you will find yourself interpreting pain where there is no pain. You'll see rejection where there is none. You will experience shame when there is no reason for you to be ashamed of something. You might find yourself struggling with fear, and you don't have to be fearful of anything of that kind. So it's good to check, could it be it started in your childhood? So follow me in my next video as I now explain how this particular pain can manifest in teenage, and the kind of a behavior that these kind of teenagers carry on because of this pain. So see you in my next video.